Welcome to the Yarra Valley Living Centre and another episode of Living Well. And today I have my very good friend, David Jones, with us. And David is well known, definitely very well known around Melbourne and Victoria, but even internationally as a very special and unique, not only great, but very unique drummer. And he's a percussionist and plays all kinds of wonderful music, and I'll let him speak more about that to do with percussion. And in 2010, David received the Melbourne Prize for Music, a very prestigious award, and it just reflects how extraordinary his music is. Some time ago, I think it was a year or two ago, David, you also performed with the Philharmonic Orchestra, the Melbourne Philharmonic Orchestra.
Melbourne Symphony.
Melbourne Symphony Orchestra. And you were the special piece. So I've never seen drums in front of the whole orchestra, but the orchestra backed David. It was extraordinary. So welcome, David, and so wonderful to have you with us.
Thank you, Morley. Thanks for the lovely introduction. Yeah, that was a very special highlight in my life to play a piece written specially for me. It was the second time, actually. The first concerto was written in Japan in 2006.
And what music did you play with there in Japan?
A similar thing, but a different piece written for me. So it's called a concerto, where there's a soloist out front of the orchestra. And you're right, it is unusual to have drum kit out front of an orchestra.
Yeah, so I think it's very rare.
Yeah.
And amazing. David, you've been playing for 50 years and also meditating for 37 years. So, you know, we think of flutes and cellos and a lot of really gentle harps, but drums and meditation, you've been meditating for 37 years. So did your meditation, you know, how do you do that, drums and meditation?
That's a great question. You know, I'm experiencing for a long time now, but very, very deeply recently, the parallels between the practice or the art form of music and the art form of meditation. And so rather than them being two separate things, they're really, really integrated. And I do note that in all the art forms, whether it be cooking, skiing, painting, whatever the art form is, we drop into this beautiful state of being to create. So everything's about creation, isn't it? And we're creative beings at the core of the self. And so what I've noticed and really love enjoying about music making is that it's transcendent. You know, I can enter into a space because of meditation as well. So as long as I set up my state, which I'm in the habit of doing anyway, just breathing and settling the body, settling the mind, and then just absolutely being in the moment with all of the training, of course, too. And then things happen that are spontaneous, sometimes very inspired. Sometimes they even surprise me, you know, things that pop out. And it's the same in meditation too, because we might start with a core thought or a feeling and go into that, and surprising things can arise.
What I also noticed, David, is whenever you play, there's always a smile on your lips. Is that intentional or is that just natural?
Yeah, you can't fake a smile like this.
So you really look like you're in the zone.
It's such a joyous thing because it also gives happiness, and there's an energetic loop going on between the audience or the listeners and yourself and the other members of the band or the orchestra. And even if it's solo, if I'm playing alone with a small audience, then they become the band as well. So there's this amazing energy flow between everyone involved in that space.
And how much has your music changed, like before you started meditating, since you meditated, and what you're speaking about now as you've deepened your meditation and at the same time increased your skill, your talent?
Great question. initially it was such a contrast and the opposite end of the spectrum of music. Music for me up to that point, up to age 26 or so I'm 63 now. Yeah, that was a really interesting point at which I was quite lost, and I'd played everything, in terms of musical situations, styles of music, everything that was possible in Melbourne, Australia. And I thought it was either go to America or a large place and do the same type of things. It might have been paying more in terms of livelihood, might have been more larger audiences, etc. But it was that very extreme. And the other part of the extreme was shave my head and go to India, live on a mountaintop or something. So it was so extreme. So when I started to meditate, I realized, oh my goodness, yes, I took a bit of a back seat for a while in my career. But what I started to realize very, very deeply was that, wow, it's even more powerful to integrate this into practical life. So I don't give away the drum.
You're pretty much top of your field at that age, weren't you? When you were 26, you're pretty...
very, very fortunate.
Who were some of the bands or people you played with that our listeners will relate to?
As long as this doesn't sound like name dropping.
Oh.
But John Farnham, James Morrison, Don Burrows. I was in Don's band later for 7 years, and so many people from overseas as well, traveling through Australia and play with wonderful people. Not only they were famous, but what I've noticed also, everyone's a brother or a sister.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I had that somehow in me even before, taking on a meditation lifestyle. It was this feeling that I'm meeting someone that I'm connected to rather than them being in a very high place, and respecting that they have a position or this, a famous sort of profile, really. But in essence, I could always connect with the person, and that was a beautiful thing. It's always been a beautiful thing to feel that, okay, there are different profiles and different sort of strata in life, but basically I'm meeting my brother or my sister. So there was Eartha Kitt, there was, oh my goodness.
So David, even before you meditated, you had that feeling?
I did. I suppose because, very fortunately, I did develop great skill at a young age. So I always felt, well, possibly there was youthful arrogance as well, but I did feel, an equality. Yeah, very confident, overconfident sometimes. But and that's been tempered through meditation practice too, to really sit more in the middle and in balance, with what I can do and what I can give rather than what I can take. There's a lot of beautiful attitudes that arise out of the meditation state that keeps us not only in check, but keeps us in balance, that things are equal. And so that parallel with music and meditation, I found that quite quickly when I started to meditate. I thought, this is what I've been looking for. This was missing. I knew something was missing, and I didn't know what it was. And so once I found that deep stillness and silence very quickly, and experiences that can sometimes be not put into words very easily, it's beyond words. Connection with divine and a feeling of oneself, a very deep sense of self. And so to play from that state, that was new for me, but it felt like there was something ancient about it too. It was like I was returning to something that's very fundamental in music making.
And so I do feel pretty much always get into that state, David?
I do. It's become a really good habit. So as we know, we set up programs, what we call habits. Programs are just by repetition. And that's one of those great parallels between the meditation and music, is that whatever we practice and repeat with feeling, not just by rote. So whether it be meditation or music or whatever the art form is, repetition with feeling will get us to a point where it's automatic. It's natural. So you could say it becomes life. It's the foundation of life.
And before you spoke a little bit about, that kind of youthful, kind of confidence. Did you have to work hard to temper that a bit?
I still do.
You still do. Doesn't show, but okay.
Thank you. But it's you refine the things that we're working on and transforming in the self. And I think because, again, going back to this whole notion of programs, if there's a corrupted program, it's not a matter of deleting. It's really understanding it first, isn't it, before we can actually let that go and not give it energy anymore. Because we're organic beings. We're in flow all the time. So whatever's happened in the past that's very strong, and built up over a long period of time, it needs to be understood and acknowledged and not just repressed or, suppressed or tried to delete it. It's not going to work. So it needs to be integrated into the understanding of what really humility is. And I'm just speaking about my own journey here, but to feel that I'm the instrument before I even touch an instrument, the drums or a singing bowl or whatever it is, that I want to tune up first. I want to be in tune. I want to be still. And that silence and stillness is really the foundation. And what I usually express to people it's an analogy. It's like a painter would have a blank canvas, usually a blank canvas before they start. So with music particularly, we start with silence. So even if you're about to count in, 1, 2, 3, 4 into the music, there's a little moment of precious, I call it precious stillness. It's really precious moments. With an orchestra too, before everyone plays, there's the conductor with the baton, and it's just this, everyone tuning in. You can feel it. It's just this beautiful moment before it all starts. And there's so much energy, potential in that moment. So that silence or the blank canvas, the stillness before any activity really, can give us the feeling of ultimate potential, of unlimited feeling.
I think you've just taken us into that feeling, that moment of silence before. Yeah, it's quite poignant. And so you experience that. For you is experience, like
it is, Molly. Yeah. It is definitely, and I love to invite people into that. So other members of the band, the audience, especially before going on stage, for myself, but also allowing an invitation to happen, even for people that are not into meditation as a lifestyle. If at least I know they're just receptive to what I do for myself, then just be still with people just for a few moments, a minute or two, can be the most beautiful feeling. And there was one story of this, there was a percussion group that was coming from UK. And it was a great name for this ensemble. It's called Ensemble Bash. Great name for a percussion group. Anyway, lovely players, really great players. And we had a piece written specially for us. There was a piece written by Stuart Copeland, who was in the band Police. And so there's a big program of music, and there's a lot of notes. You see the page is just filled with black notes everywhere. It's just a lot of conscious thinking. And it didn't feel right in the first rehearsal to say, oh, is it okay if we have some silence? But second rehearsal, the marimbas and timpani and these big drums and charts with music everywhere. It's like you hang out the washing, it's like all this white paper with all this writing on it and lots of conscious thought. And, there's a bit of stress going on as well. So I just at the right moment, I just felt for the right moment. I said to him, guys, do you mind if we just have a little silence for a minute or so? I just need just a bit of stillness. So there's so much going on. And they said, yeah, sure. And musicians are usually pretty receptive. So people stood at the marimba or wherever they were. I was sitting at the drum kit, and we just had a minute or so just being still. And the other members of the ensemble, they said, David, thank you so much for that. I didn't realize how much I needed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
It was so lovely. There's so many stories like that where, just inviting people. For me, it's not courage. It's just I love to extend that feeling to people if they want to.
And of course, if you receive what you need, then you can play better. So even if they did it just to cooperate with you, it's worth it for them to acknowledge, what would bring out the best from you. And I can imagine that it would have a big difference. So would you be able to play rock and roll, having this appreciation of silence? Do you love it?
Yeah.
Do you still love it?
I wouldn't join a rock and roll band these days necessarily. It would have to be a very special, unique kind of ensemble, but certainly I've done lots of recording in sort of rock and funky styles and Latin and jazz, and I love it all, because the thing is, if you're really focused, it doesn't really matter what the style is. It's the carrier of energy.
Yeah.
So whether it be the style or the instruments or the people involved, it really, that becomes the carrier of the vibration. And so even with heavy rock, I mean, I haven't played in really heavy rock groups, and that can be quite dark, Great music, incredible music, but I can't listen to too much of it. But even in that sense, it doesn't matter what the form is, that it still can be a carrier, can be a vehicle for very powerful experiences for people. Yeah, go back to this word transcendent, that people are drawn into the moment, into a transcendent state, and nothing else matters.
Yeah, and I would also say, as a long-term meditator, when somebody can take me into rock and roll kind of music in that right way, like you said, it's kind of carrying it. I love it, because it's also, we do thrive on variety. So, when we get a kind of a different energy. I remember recently I was up at a beach, and there was a big storm, and the sea was so wild, and big storms coming in. And I felt, I just loved it. I so much like the peace and calm of an ocean, but it was so invigorating. So I think when we hear the higher energy music, it's also very invigorating. So it's not jarring, I think, for a meditator when it's played in the right way, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. It's powerful, very powerful. And we do need that vitality of the chi being activated in the positive sense, upward. Yeah, that's very, very good for us, for our health too, mental and physical and emotional health.
So I know, David, you also play the bowls and brooms and thongs, and tell us a bit about your creativity.
Just showing everyone the bowl, because we just checked before, and of course on Zoom the sound is not so great. It's a bit unpredictable, but I love the shape of the singing bowls, from Tibet, from North India, Nepal, from all different countries. There's also Japan has bowls, I think, right through Asia. These shapes are so beautiful because it's mainly space. If you look at the actual shape of it, it's empty. And yet, when I hold that particular bowl, that's an A bowl, it's the note A, which it refers to the third eye region, the ashna, and the seat of the soul. So there is a vibration with the note A that does actually trigger, not everyone, because our bodies are all different chemistries, but generally there'll be a feeling, an upward feeling with that particular bowl. And so when I just hold the bowl, sorry, I think that was a phone call coming through.
It's okay.
When I hold the bowl, it's as though it's already vibrating. And because I know that instrument so well, it almost becomes part of my body. You can feel the energy going back through your arm. and into the space, and it spirals. And so one of the great changes, going back to your lovely question, that happened with meditation when I first started meditating, was that I started to hear long tones, because drums are very short, and I'd still have bells and things here and there, but that became a real life study of the power of what's called the drone. Like in India, there'll be just the string instrument creating a drone, or synthesizers playing a long note that feels to me like eternity. It feels an eternal feeling. And so it's very much the auditory version of silence in a way. So when there's a long tone like that, it reminds me of a pure mind. Just there's nothing ruffling it. It's just this beautiful stillness and beauty of the harmonics, and it's said that also when people have near-death experiences, they do hear pure tones. There's some sort of pure energetic resonance, if you like, that's beyond our physical senses.
Have you explored quite deeply into the effect of music on the mind? Because what I find is a lot of times when people are meditating, they listen to music. To me, it is relaxing, but it can kind of dull my mind. Like this kind of, I find
the meditation
for
music.
me, it's not good for meditation, and they call it meditation music. I'm very selective. If I don't have a meditation music that I feel fine tunes my mind, I'd much prefer silence. So have you done a little bit of experimenting in these areas?
Yes, definitely. And because we've both been to India, we know that for meditation music, I was almost in shock the first time. It was like party music. It's so energetic. It's like going back to this thing of rock and roll, or different styles of music, that it still can be a carrier of really beautiful energy, no matter what the form is. So it took me a little while to get used to that really, is this meditation music? I can't believe my foot's tapping. And what I realized was that there's not just peace, there's peace and happiness and an inspired, creative feeling, upward to the divine. It's an inspired feeling. That I'm with you totally, that it's either silence for me or very sophisticated, beautiful, elegant music. Otherwise, it just, being a musician for so many years, it just draws me too much into the music otherwise.
Yeah, I think you hear music a lot more than others. And that's the thing, when we're a connoisseur of anything good, it kind of is a challenge, because then anything not so good, it's like, oh. Whereas others will think it's kind of okay. But
That's right. Moni, I've got something funny to tell you. It's a very simple thing, but I've often been in very deep meditation, but my ears are still open. So it's almost like everything else settles down, the mind settles down, eyes settle, all senses except here is still wide open, because that's the training.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, because we're so open in meditation, the choice of music is really important for me, but it's helped me also to detach a little, in a good way, detach from things that are not so pleasant, or
interesting.
Work in progress.
Yeah. And I've always seen you as being very playful. Like, I've seen you play a broom on your drums.
Thanks.
And thongs.
Yes.
You seem to like to experiment with all kinds of sounds.
Yeah, I love it. Because what happens is that, say with one instrument, it might be one drum or a cymbal, on the drum kit. And there are many in a drum kit, as it's literally a whole kit. Each one of them can be an instrument within itself. So it's like I'm playing an orchestra anyway. So if I use fingers, hands, the whole orchestra changes. If it's brushes, it'll be completely other textures and other possibilities, unlimited really. And then the sticks are a whole other thing. And not just hitting, but actually, for me, it's more drawing the sound out so that there's a rebound back into my hand rather than always downward. if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
you're drawing the sound out of the
Yeah.
resonating instrument, you know. And then brooms, that'll be completely other. It's like I'm playing another instrument. So I do call them implements. And I often say with brushes to sticks, which is a classic thing with drumming, the brushes are for subtle things and the sticks are for stronger things. But it can go back the other way. Sticks can be played so delicately, just with the fingers. You're like, it's hardly moving. And the brushes, you can play them like sticks, and there'll be another texture and a power to it. They're really quite special sounds.
It's wonderful.
So I keep discovering things.
Yeah.
Thank you for picking up on the playfulness. I think I'm still really childlike inside.
Yeah.
Music keeps me very childlike, not childish, but childlike. And I often put these two words together: childlike wonder. It's a wonder, like being a little child, curious. Oh, what if I do this? If that, well, what if I put this on this drum here? Yeah. So I'm always discovering things, even after playing for more than 5 decades. And I suspect for a longer time as well. If one's open to the concept of reincarnation, I've definitely been doing this for a long time. Because for me, it was proof, whatever proof means, but it was a feeling in me as a young child that I was bringing these skills, like of drawing and of music, and it was so easy.
What age did you start drumming?
About 10 or 11.
And was someone in your family musical, or it was just something you picked up? And
well, I'm the eldest, and my brother and sister also took up instruments, and I didn't realize my brother had developed so much over the years. I didn't see him for quite a few years, and he's become a very wonderful singer-songwriter, guitarist, and sound engineer. Amazing. And my sister's very naturally gifted too. She just hasn't given herself the time to develop something, but she loves it. Yeah.
And before I invite you to do a little meditation with us, I just want to know a little bit of your experience, because I believe you were in Japan with a No theatre group. Was it No or another Japanese art form when you went to Japan?
Now, I've been to Japan nearly as many times as India, so it must be 25, 26 times. And I do remember we did this beautiful meditation program at the center in Tokyo, and it was the Buto dancing. Two dancers that were very, very high level. And we didn't really rehearse. The rehearsal was actually getting to know each other. And this program was beyond description. There was a Shinto monk, a Buddhist monk, 2 Buto dancers, Carmen Warrington, my partner, who does the singing bowls and meditations and singing, and I had a tiny little drum kit with kitchen implements as well. It was wonderfully wild as well. It was it couldn't be repeated. Anyway, with the Buto dancers, they went into this very special, very dramatic movements, and I remember the man. He actually rolled his eyes up underneath his eyelids. There's just the whites showing. So, oh my goodness, this is serious. So I was sort of going with him, with all of these little instruments I had. And Carmen had her microphone close to her, and just spontaneously she did this really loud sound, like a very Japanese sort of and the other dancer was down she was at the back of the hall ready to come in, and she was going, yes. It was a surprise to Carmen too, because the mic was very, very loud, because it was set for meditation. And she did this really loud sound. But, Japan for me, like India, is one of my homes. And just over the years, so many special experiences of meditation, music, various types of art forms, and really special. I just feel very fortunate.
Oh, so beautiful. Thanks for sharing all of that. It's lovely to go inside someone's world and see what goes on in there. So now maybe you could take us into a little meditation, deeper into your world of silence and music.
Oh, I'd love to. How long would you like this? About 5 minutes or so?
7 minutes. Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, good. Okay. So wherever you are, just settle into the chair, into the space, and feel, even though you're looking at a screen or hearing the voices, our two voices and now my voice, feel that we're all connected, especially through breathing very deeply. So let's take a deep breath in through the nose if you're able to. Hold the breath gently and breathing out through the mouth. Again, breathing in through the nose, deeply into the diaphragm. Hold the breath gently and allow the thoughts to slow down. And as you breathe out through the mouth, let go. Breathing in again through the nose. Holding the breath gently and appreciate the life energy in your body. Breathing out, let go of stress, tension, uncertainty, let it all go. Keep breathing at your own rate, deeper than usual. Nothing forced, everything easy. Feel the weight of the body in the chair. Feel all your senses starting to settle as well, and your mind is settling. Be here in the moment, breathing. And feel the center of your consciousness. The spark of living energy that you are. Unique, special in your own way. With every breath, feel that the state of calm is arising very naturally from within. With every breath, more and more peaceful. The original state of you, the soul, the beautiful being, is naturally, originally peaceful. It feels so good to be peaceful, quiet for a little while, still. Thoughts come and go, and that's fine. Just place one beautiful thought in the center of your mind, center of your consciousness. I am the peaceful soul. Repeat that thought. Go into that thought. Feel that thought. Experience the reality of I am the peaceful, calm being, purely being. In the state of being soul aware, aware of the self, the inner self. Gently yet powerfully reach out with your mind and invoke the divine. Visualize, feel, and give yourself permission to experience golden divine energy from above and beyond, flowing down through the core of your being. So soothing, so powerful. Spiritual love flowing through you, radiating in all directions. I am the peaceful soul, connected, belonging to the divine. Gently, slowly bring this energy down through the top of your head, through your features, through your eyes, through every organ of your body, through every cell. Om Shanti. Om means I am the soul. Shanti means full of peace. Ancient words with beautiful, beautiful meaning. Beautiful resonance. Om, sound of the universe. Song of the soul. Music of the heart. Thank you, Monique.
Really lovely. Thank you, David. So lovely. You could take us into the silence you were speaking about. And when we go into that silence, we don't really feel like talking.
That's true.
Yeah. But thank you so much. And I'm sure people would like to listen to some of your music. So I believe your website is davidjonesdrums.com. And is that the best way to follow you, David?
Sure. And if people are on social media, David Jones Drummer for Instagram, and Facebook is same, David Jones Drums.
Yeah.
Very welcome to make connection.
Yeah, you have to watch David play. It's an experience, really, to see that joy and just, like you said, in the zone. That describes it.
Thank you, Rod.
So thank you so much, David.
Great pleasure. Spiritual pleasure.
Yeah, it is spiritual pleasure, isn't it, when we go into this space. So thank you so much, and we'll see you again.
And before you go, thank you for this wonderful series that you put together, Living Well, so that people can really go deeply into what that means. I think it's a great title.
Yeah, because we live well through many things, music being one of them. Yeah, so all the different facets that feed our soul.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.